Core Group Resources, and this is actually the first event we've ever done at 2 p.m. during a workday. So thank you for coming out and cutting a portion of your workday off, which this is technically still work, but it's all kind of co-blended together. This is a client appreciation event, but it's also mixed with some fundraising for missions that we support. And luckily, last year we had a good year in the labor business, and the crewing business, and recruitment business, and so that's allowed us to underwrite this. Usually when we throw events, we have to raise sponsorship to kind of neutral out the costs, but without you guys here in this room participating and being our clients, we wouldn't be able to underwrite the missions that we do in the city. And you know, kind of doing business on mission has been a big part of my heart since I started the business 10 years ago. And it looked like, well, you know, hey, I like helping people find jobs. That's easy. We'll place executives into roles, or people between jobs, help them find work. But over the years, it was like, well, you know, there's got to be more to this business, this mission or ministry kind of world. What does it look like? And so I got involved with a group called C12 about 5 years ago, which really kind of taught me the ways of doing business on mission in the city. And so I ran into Jamie Hampton at Hope Legacy Collective, and they've been able to do a really cool thing for us in regards to really co-blending what does being on mission in a city as a business look like. And so about, what was it, 4 years ago, 5 now? Yeah, 5 years ago we started to kind of unpack and what does this look like. And Jamie worked at a maritime company called Gulf Winds International, and they would take their clients out on mission trips and do things around the city. And it was really cool to see what they had built. And so we started doing some of that stuff as well. And so over the last few years we've been supporting veterans organizations, human trafficking organizations, you know, feeding the homeless as a team, and really kind of getting out into the city and trying to make a change and impact. And so a part of today is really to appreciate you guys, but it's also to kind of give you a window into what does business on mission look like. It's a little bit different, you know, because you know, we all take our clients out to golf, to dinner. But have you ever asked your clients to go on mission with you? You know, and that percentage gets really, really low. So I'm excited to be able to partner today with Jamie and the Frontline guys, and so I kind of want to open up the floor to you guys. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you guys for attending today. My name is Jamie Hampton. I'm the executive director of a small private foundation here in Houston called Hope Legacy Collective. We really do two things. We work really closely with about 40 to 50 nonprofits here in the city and also globally, and we give out grant money, right, like at a classic foundation. But we also were burdened that we wanted to deploy what nonprofits need. They need two things. They need people and profits. They need volunteers and capital, however you want to word that saying. And so we got tired of just giving money. They need people. They need energy. They need time. And so that's where we believe the workplace can really be the solution. Your company could be that solution. Core Group is that solution. So thank y'all for stepping up and doing that. So today I got Jeff Shaw with me. Jeff is the Chief Program Officer of Frontline Response. Frontline Response is out of Atlanta. So I'm going to let him, really what I want to do right now is I want to have a really quick 6 to 8 minute fireside chat. I'm going to give him 4 or 5 questions. And all I want y'all to see is I want y'all to see working in the nonprofit space with all the sectors. One of the top 3 sectors for our city, contextually, is human trafficking. Okay? We're by the border. We're a port city. We got interstates running north, south, east, and west. Everywhere you can turn around. We're so diverse. So it's not just one people group. It's all people groups here in Houston. Asian, Hispanic, everything. It comes through Houston. So with that, really there's 2 things. I want Jeff to share what Frontline Response is out to do and what we're trying to do for our city. And I think it's a really strategic need. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'm going to let Jeff kind of talk about it. So Jeff, the first question I want to pitch to you is just tell us about the mission of Frontline Response out of Atlanta. What are y'all doing? What's your mission, and why do y'all exist?
Yeah. Well, before I jump in, I want to just give a sincere thank you to Core Group and Hope Legacy, because this is, as a nonprofit, this is not a normal experience that we get to do, where they bring you in and say, hey, we want to help you raise money. So thank you guys so much. At Frontline, so we're in our 20th year of operating. We're in Atlanta, Georgia, and Columbus, Ohio, and Houston, Texas is the next place in the strategic plan for us. What we do is we rescue individuals out of sex trafficking and homelessness, and we prevent children and other vulnerable populations from falling victims. So the adult disabled, intellectually challenged, people that are uniquely vulnerable to human trafficking. For Houston, foreign-born and refugee individuals that are coming through the city that are uniquely vulnerable to trafficking.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. So one thing I would be asking if I was in y'all's shoes is, okay, that's great. What does that look like? Like, give me like a 2-minute or 1-minute story of how a woman goes through this process. What does it look like? Do you have a story you could just share with us?
Yeah, and a lot of people are shocked to hear that a lot of the human trafficking that happens within the U.S. is U.S. born and raised individuals too. So it's the kids that are falling through the cracks of our foster care system. 90% of women who are sex trafficked were sexually abused as children before anybody ever trafficked them. So there are these built-in vulnerabilities that exist in the U.S. We had a young woman who met a guy on social media from Cincinnati, Ohio, and she traveled down to Atlanta to be his girlfriend. And when she got there, he had a home just outside of the Atlanta airport where he was trafficking women, guns, and drugs all out of the same home. And once you were in the home, you were locked in from the outside, cameras throughout the interior of the home. But after a point where the trafficker trusts the people enough that they've been essentially broken, that they can begin to trust them to use their own phones to set up their dates and to do things on behalf of the trafficker. So this woman was on her phone while he was out, and she Googled help out of trafficking, and she found our 24-hour hotline number. So that's one of the big things we do, is we operate a 24-hour rescue hotline. So when we talked to her, she said, hey, our shower is out in our house, and we take showers at the neighbor's house next door. And so we orchestrated to send a team, pull up at the bottom of the driveway. She told the guy she was going to go next door and take a shower. She walked down the driveway, hopped in the car, and we drove her away. And then we contacted the FBI. They came in and interviewed her. They went, took that whole network down, and then she came into our 24-hour emergency safe home. And essentially what happens there is it's just triage and stabilization. Get safe. Let's get you to a doctor. Let's start addressing those urgent needs so that as that fog of trauma clears, then she can start being empowered to make long-term decisions about her future.
That's great. So maybe one other question I have is just briefly paint what human trafficking is as a sector. You know, I come from supply chain. Maybe many of you are in, some kind of transportation or something of that sort. There's a supply chain, something's made, or someone comes into a system, and then there's a byproduct on the other end. What is it for this sector? So just tell me the 4 or 5 checkpoints of what we're trying to meet in the sector.
So to be clear, Houston is doing a killer job in the anti-trafficking space. This is not something where we're coming in saying, hey, we've got all the answers. Houston is doing outreach, so there's people out in the streets, there's people in the jails, law enforcement is running counter-trafficking operations and rescuing people out that way. On the back end, there are long-term programs that between 12 to 18 months are offering therapy, job readiness, GED programs, but there's not a way for women who have been rescued out of trafficking to get from where they are to get into those long-term. So the big gap in Houston is the emergency stabilization home. And it's operated 24 hours a day, all year long. We intake women at 3 a.m., we intake them on Christmas Day, it doesn't matter. If the FBI calls, Homeland Security, if a woman calls herself, we're going to send a team immediately to pick her up and to bring her in. But it's a unique situation because the nonprofit community in Houston actually initiated inviting us to come and bring our emergency safe home here to the Houston area. So we're coming at the invitation of the anti-trafficking community.
That's great. And look, again, I get to work with all the sectors. You don't see collaboration that much, okay? The long-term program in Houston, one of them is called Elijah Rising. They donated a home to them. They donated real estate, number one. Number two, they donated $100K to try to get them here. That doesn't happen, right? Because they see that if they don't get a short-term answer, if you're a woman that has trauma and you come to a long-term care unit and you get dysregulated, right? You haven't really determined if you're going to do the work or not. Well, if they come in and I have a lady that's been there for 5 months, and then this lady that comes in overnight and leaves the next day because she wants drugs or something else to go back to the life, what does it do to the other 7 women doing the work? It re-triggers, right? If you know anyone that has PTSD or some kind of addiction or something, it re-triggers it, okay? So this is a strategic need for the whole sector. We did the whole research as a foundation for the sector. The unified voice from the police and from the sector said, we need emergency safe home. How many beds are in Houston? Anybody want to take a guess? How many beds we got in Houston for this? For women, if I type in on Google right now and I want to get out, how many beds we got? 25. Anybody else want to take a guess? Zero. There's nowhere for women to go right now. They can go to a domestic violence shelter. They can go to a homeless shelter. But none of it has a specific focus for what is really plaguing our city, which is the human and sex trafficking.
It's a fight we can win. I would not do what I do every day if I didn't believe we could win. And so this opportunity I love that they did this, because y'all are laying the bricks for an emergency safe home that is going to, we're expecting 100 women per year to be served in this home. And y'all have a chance to be at the ground floor of saying, I want to stamp my fingerprint on that legacy of women being rescued in Houston. So I'm humble. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.